Okay, this is about diets making you fat and how you can help your patients to lose weight without dieting. And you probably already know this, but diets make you fat because fat cells are not inert. They produce the hormone called leptin. The hypothalamus in the brain monitors leptin levels. It's all part of a survival mechanism. The hypothalamus monitors leptin levels, and then when you diet, you lose fat. This reduces the amount of leptin perceived by the hypothalamus. And the loss of leptin is interpreted as starvation. Okay, and you've seen this pattern in dieters before, maybe gone through it yourself. You know, the first few days of the diet, oh, I feel great. I got so much energy. I lost all this weight. Uh, Weight loss starts to fall off because your body's metabolism is slowing down. It's trying to keep you from starving. After a while, you can't even have normal control. You start craving all kinds of sweets and things like that. It's a survival mechanism. You can have leptin insensitivity much the same way you can have insulin insensitivity. People who carry a lot of extra weight, a lot of extra fat, make extra leptin. Okay, and the hypothalamus gets inured of this high level of leptin. So even fat people losing too much weight is still perceived as starvation. The hypothalamus needs a lot of leptin to let it know that things are okay. It wants homeostasis. So if diets don't work, what does? Okay, we need to focus on three things: toxins, insulin and insulin insensitivity, and the microbiome. And there are a number of studies that show a connection between toxicity, chemicals from plastics, and even air pollution being tied to high BMI and obesity. So the Zorix weight loss program starts with a light detoxification. This is not any kind of a big cleanse or anything. It's 3 days, you eat vegetables only, which helps reduce the number of toxins, and take GB Complete, which thins bile and enables the liver to get rid of toxins, and CGF, which is a blood sugar product. It's a multiple designed to bring insulin and sensitivity under control, but it also contains a number of elements that help to mitigate chemical sensitivity. It's a very cleverly designed product. But you want to thin bile and get as many toxins out at the beginning of this. This also helps us when we're going to work on the microbiome. Here's another detoxification study. It's very well established. If you remove toxins, you can lose weight. GB Complete from Zorex is their product for biliary stasis. It thins bile. It's good for people with dry, itchy skin. They're cracking their heels. They People who do not tolerate fats well, have gallbladder issues, pain under the right side of the rib cage. But for our purposes, we're using it to thin bile and get rid of toxins. Okay. It also improves digestion of oils and oil-soluble nutrients. And if your fats are rotting in your intestines, you're not going to have a very good microbiome. So it does improve bowel ecology as well. It's a smart thing to have in this program. So the Zorix weight loss program focuses on insulin and insulin insensitivity. And we're talking about insulin. It covers a lot of ground. We're talking about obesity. Everybody who's overweight is insulin insensitive. We're talking about hypoglycemia. We're talking about type 1 diabetes, which is inability to produce insulin, and type 2 diabetes, which are your heavy people, they have insulin insensitivity. And then, of course, metabolic syndrome, which is high cholesterol, high triglycerides, low HDLs, and high LDLs. Okay. And you have to remember, all overweight people are insensitive to insulin. So this is something that needs to be dealt with. Okay, just a quick review about insulin insensitivity. Eating a lot of sugar and starch, which is most Americans, causes overproduction of insulin. Over time, your body stops responding to it. I mean, it's like when a parent yells threats all the time, the kids stop listening. Too much sugar, your body stops responding to insulin. Okay, poor diet leads to insulin insensitivity, which leads to metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. Okay, everyone who's overweight has insulin insensitivity, and this must be dealt with. And when we talk about insulin sensitivity, we're not talking about type 1 diabetics. Type 1 diabetics actually need insulin, okay? And they tend to be thin. They don't tend to be overweight, okay? But the type 2 diabetics are insulin insensitive, and the metabolic syndrome folks are insulin insensitive. So you'll take care of this. Another thing that you might not realize, about 25% of your high blood pressure patients got that way because of insulin insensitivity. So the other supplement we're going to use in this program is CGF, Complete Glucose Formula from Zorex International. It's a multiple that's high in constituents that bring insulin production under control. Okay, you have to lower insulin production so that the patient will stop storing fat. The supplements are an important part of this program, the CGF and the GB Complete, but dietary changes have to be made. You're not dieting, you're not limiting food, but you're going to focus on the kinds of foods they eat and when they eat, and that's how they're going to lose weight. Okay, so obviously you want them to avoid high glycemic foods, sugars and starches, and anything that really triggers insulin production. You want to get insulin production under control. And rather than just use a low glycemic diet and give them a chart, we actually completed a full meal plan. This has day-to-day meal plans. This has recipes. This explains why they're eating the way they're eating, because low glycemic isn't going to cut it. You really want to get inflammation down. Sugar and insulin are inflammatory. Okay. The other thing we want to focus on is you want to get them to stop snacking. Okay, for 3 hours after a meal, you produce insulin, which stores your calories. Insulin stores calories. Insulin makes you fat. Okay, after 3 hours, you produce a hormone called glucagon. Okay, glucagon burns up the calories from your meal. Okay, so if you're snacking every couple 3 hours, you're always producing insulin. You need to get the patient to stop snacking. If that's a problem, if they get dizzy, if they have problems like that, they need adrenal support. There's a number of products that will help. Actually, CGF has some glandular that will help with this issue for you. And even if you struggle with them to stop snacking between meals, make sure they at least don't eat anything between dinner and bedtime, because that's the golden time to be producing glucagon. You can really make the most out of glucagon production by doing something called intermittent fasting. Okay, this is very well researched. Okay, you fast between dinner and breakfast. Okay, and the fasting period needs to be 16 hours. Okay, because they'll actually go into a little bit of ketosis toward the end of that period. So if dinner, you have 8 hours in the day when you can eat. So if dinner is at 6 p.m., then breakfast is at 10 p.m. 16 hours later. Okay, so your eating time is between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Okay, it's all outlined in this report, and this is something I should stress. If you want to have a weight loss program and you don't want to take a lot of time, this whole program is done with handouts. That's a 4-page report right there that tells your patient everything that they're doing. It tells them what to eat, why they're eating that way, what supplements to take. It tells them what insulin insensitivity is. It tells them about the microbiome. It's a very complete thing. It'll save you a ton of time. And it's free from Zorex. We're going to give another plug to intermittent fasting. This really, really helps. I've seen people lose weight doing nothing but intermittent fasting, okay? And it's even beneficial for type 2 diabetics, okay? The British Medical Journal found. Once again, contact Zorex and get this free report. You can run the program from your front desk. It will take no time at all, I promise you. And Zorex is at 800-679-3027. Now we're going to switch gears and talk about the microbiome. Okay, it's just a fancy term for the bacteria that grow in your intestines. Okay, there's more bacterial cells, probably about 7 pounds or so, in your intestines than there are cells in your body. Okay, it's just that the bacterial cells are very small. And about 75% of your immune system is associated with the intestines and the microbiome. So the microbiome is kind of an ecosystem. Well, it isn't kind of, it is an ecosystem. Okay, and the kind of bacteria in your colon matters. Good bacteria remove toxins, they nourish the intestinal lining, they suppress pathogens, and they produce vitamins. Bad bacteria produce toxins, they irritate the intestinal lining, they harm the immune system, and it makes a big difference, including weight. There's not a lot of research to show that the type of bacteria in your colon matters. Bad bacteria make you fat, good bacteria keep you thin. So it should be simple, right? We just give everybody probiotics. You could, but the bacteria wouldn't survive. Your intestines are an ecosystem, and until you change that environment, the good bacteria won't survive. It's like putting a few deer on an island full of wolves. It just won't last. Some of you may have clinically noticed that you get people probiotics all day long and it doesn't change a stool test. So the way to change the microbiome is to improve the environment of the intestines. And that's why we use this diet, because it's very high in polyphenols and in vegetable fiber. Research shows that that's what it takes to support a desirable microbiome. The diet is key. And what's really nice about it, they can eat as much food as they like. And the whole program is done with handouts, okay? It takes none of your time. You use the handout on the left, gets them started on the program. The booklet on the right, free from Zorex, outlines the diet in great detail and why they're doing what they're doing. And since you're going to be doing this and it's not going to take any of your time, we actually have a customized 11 by 17 poster to help you with your marketing. Okay, put this in your waiting room. Anybody's interested or has a friend or relative that's interested in losing weight is going to take notice. And you could put this in other businesses too. You could build a weight loss business in your practice without taking any extra time at all. And we have other material for you too. We have a newsletter, which is customizable. You can put your information in this panel on this side, and there's one on the other side. Same thing with this quiz. It's to help you find out why the person's overweight. And once again, this is customizable too. You can get patients taking the quiz to their friends and relatives, and they'll come back with the quiz and ask you to interpret them for them. This is a great way to build your practice. And thank you very much. Call or email with any questions. I'm Paul G. Varnes at gmail.com, 773-519-0007. I do still see patients, but if you leave a message, I'll get back to you. And then Zorex International for these handouts, and especially the booklet, info@zorexinternational.com, or call them at 800-679-3027. Thank you again.